You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona, and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this. Hey, everybody. How are we doing this week?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good.
Doing great. I do want to say I'm starting off this week, and I'm just going to say, my topic may involve the frank discussion of body parts. So if that's something you and your wee listeners don't want to hear, just skip ahead to, I'll put the timestamp in here. 11 minutes, 13 seconds. Perfect. So German biologist C.F.P. von Meritus was visiting Amazonia and meeting with the native people living there in 1829 when he heard a most curious tale that involved a particular custom of the men in that region. Before entering the rivers of the area to swim, they would take a small piece of some sort of thin material.
You're going with this.
And
you're
tie
doing it.
A tight knot around their penis. This was, they explained, to protect them from the dreaded Candiru.
Okay.
I don't know if I'm saying that right.
All right.
Candiru? We're going to go with that. This is a species that's also alternately known as the Candiru, the toothpick fish, or brace yourself, the vampire fish.
I don't like this.
This
Kirk.
is why I probably should have waited until Halloween to do this one.
You might have.
Yep. Now look, swimming without a cover, shall we say, can be dangerous in these rivers. You don't want your bait hanging out in rivers with piranhas. If you aren't looking for any bites on the bait, cover up, right? So, and there have been alleged reported cases of piranhas making off with people's
genitalia
bait, let's say, right? So, the Candiru, though, is something else entirely. So now, let me get this right out of the way here. That the Candiru is a very real creature. It is a parasitic fish that inhabits the Amazon and Orinoco basins of lowland Amazonia. And once again, though, we are foiled by common names because the word Candiru is, on the one hand, used to describe just one particular species, the Vandelia cirrhosa. And at the other times, it's also used to describe like multiple subfamilies of related fishes. So that's confusing. But the Vandelia cirrhosa is the species we're looking at today. And these are small, translucent, parasitic fish with short, backwards pointing spines on their gill covers.
Oh, no.
And they're parasitic because they enter the gills of larger fish and sort of latch onto the host fish with these like thorny backwards pointing spines.
Oh no.
And they are very difficult to remove. And the fish are hematophagous, which is a great word that basically means they eat blood.
Yeah.
So it's thus the vampire fish name.
Horrifying.
And so the big
translucent too. Oh my god.
The rumor was that, of course, if men went into the river, and especially if they were to urinate into the river, these fish would smell that, find them, and swim up their urethra and become lodged inside their penis.
That's where I thought you were going with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same.
Pretty horrifying. Which is reported to be very painful and awful and whatnot. So
I would expect nothing else.
The question is, do the men of the world need to worry about this fish, or at least the men of this region? They said they were trying to tie things off, and there's a very real fear of it. And so do they need to worry about it? In a word, no.
Okay.
No, they don't. So there's a lot of problems with what I'm going to call the myth of the Candiru. So first of all, they can get quite large. The main species we're talking about here grows up to 7 inches long.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
So clearly that's not swimming up your urethra.
No.
They are smaller when they're younger. I found multiple references to them being 1 inch long. But again, a urethra is not large, you guys. I don't care if it's like, that's not something that things don't easily go in there other than maybe bacteria, right? That's not something that you really should have to worry about.
It's a one-way type situation. It's a one-way pipe.
One would hope. So now, the thing I hope you'll notice also is that these fish don't survive in the wild by hanging out in urethras. That's not a thing that they do.
Right.
In fact, that would be fatal to them. They live in the gills of other larger fish. And there was speculation early on, and I've even seen a BBC documentary that says this, shame on them, that continues this idea that like these fish are attracted to urine.
Wow.
And this is something that's pretty easy to test. You can get a tank of them and put in urine and see if they're all like, ooh, and swim over to it. And guess what? They don't. They don't care.
And why would they? Because
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. They don't have a reason to. And it should be obvious, gills don't really smell like urine. And it turns out that these fish actually rely on their eyesight to find their hosts. So they don't really have a reason to like swim up your peen. Okay, it's not happening. And there are actually like stories too about like, oh, don't even want to pee near the river because they can literally shoot up your stream of urine and it's like,
Oh my
you
gosh.
know,
sort of like peeing on an electric fence, except with a small
Yeah,
parasitic
it's-
fish.
Yep.
it's like, okay, never mind that would defy the laws of physics. Okay,
They are
but
very
that's-
precise and accurate in their aim.
yeah. So this has a lot of the hallmarks of a myth. And when you actually look at all these reported cases, a lot of them turn out to be like hearsay and rumors that have been like passed from one person to the next. You're like, well, where's the actual person? Oh, I heard it from so-and-so. I heard it from so-and-so. And like some of the even like purported, there was like one modern case that's been purported. And once researchers looked into it, it's like nothing added up, right? It seemed like it was just sort of a scam. So it's kind of ridiculous. And it is kind of interesting though, I think, because one of the things that I remember learning when I first started like camping outdoors and whatnot, or being an outdoors person, is that if you need to relieve yourself in the great outdoors, you should do so at least 100 feet from water to keep your urine out of the water, the place we all like swim and eat fish out of and things like that. So
Yeah.
there is a chance that this story like started as a way to keep people from peeing in rivers.
Okay.
And I think it'd be pretty effective at that if you told a small child, like, here's what's going to happen to you if you pee in the water.
I would be horrified
So-
and not go near the water ever.
Yeah, exactly. So the legend has probably endured because it's so horrifying. And people love telling horrifying, like, morality tales, especially.
Oh, yeah.
Just, don't pee in the river or this might happen to you. But unfortunately, the misinformation about the story spreads faster than the facts. And the internet is full of articles. And like I said, even there's a BBC video, like kind of warning about the dangers of this fish. And the stories talk about infection, pain, even amputation, or death. And they make quite an impact on readers, especially the male ones. And it's funny, the Encyclopedia Britannica even has an entry on these fish that mentions inflammation, hemorrhage, and death. But the editors apparently didn't bother to look too deeply into this mysterious creature and realized that most of the claims are either rumors or outright fraud. So to wrap up, I do have some final thoughts. First of all, men...
Tie it off in a bow, as it were.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Men, this is a shout out to all the men out there. Quit peeing in rivers. Okay? Shouldn't need this scary story to stop you from peeing in a river. Second of all, you don't need to be so paranoid about something swimming up your urethra. That's not a thing. I do have some bad news, though. As I was researching this and doing a lot of the reading on it, like I said, men, you're in the clear.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Women.
Women,
Victoria.
Yeah.
We talked about it. We know what
there
happened.
are a few confirmed cases
No.
of these barbed fish getting stuck vaginally.
Yep.
So do with that what you will. I'm just providing info for you. Everyone swim safely,
Don't
especially
skinny
in
dip.
South America. Yep.
No skinny dipping.
Yep. No skating dipping. And that's the horrifying story
I hate that.
I have
Thanks.
for you this week. Actually, a super fascinating parasitic fish.
Super.
It's just that it does not actually jump out of the water and fly up your urine stream inside you. So at least we don't have to worry about that.
I don't know if I should say thank you.
You're welcome.
Lives rent free in my head now.
Yep, sure does. We're going to take a break, just a short one for you to recover, because Rachel, I hope you have some sort of cleansing story for us after that.
I do.
Okay, good. See everybody in a little bit.
See you then.
Strange by Nature podcast is brought to you by listeners like you who have joined the Society of Strange, our membership group on over at patreon.com/strangebynature. Society of Strange members can join at one of 3 different membership levels and help support the show and also get some fun stuff like water bottle stickers or access to super secret content. So thank you to those who have joined already to help make this podcast possible. If you haven't joined yet, we'll see you soon over at the Society of Strange at patreon.com/strangebynature. See you soon.
Welcome back, everyone. So this is kind of a slight callback to a previous episode, but when you think of hippos, what do you think of? What
Very
are some traits
large.
of hippos? Large.
Deadliest animal in Africa.
Death. Deadliest animal.
Huge teeth.
Huge teeth.
Water.
Huge
Water.
mouth.
Huge mouth.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And of course, I think of like the annoying sound of people going wham 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 wham, hitting the hungry hippo lever, and all the mouse going snap 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 and grabbing all the white marbles.
You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
So many people. You mentioned water. Many people think of hippos as being like really good swimmers, right? Do you think of hippos being good swimmers?
I think of them being in the water. I never really thought about how well they swim.
Yeah.
So here's the catch: hippos can't swim.
What?
Okay.
Hippos can't swim.
Good to know.
Spend a lot of time in the water for an animal that can't swim.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. So these are large
Can
animals.
they float?
No,
Okay.
they can't.
Thought there was like a loophole in there or something.
Nope, they can't float. So like you were saying, like they spend a majority of their time in the water, like up to like at least 16 hours a day in the water. So you'd assume that they would be good swimmers. And while they
Fair
do,
assumption, yeah.
right. While they do have some adaptations that help them being in the water, they can't swim. Part of this is to do with just how dense a hippo is. I know we talked about, Victoria said that they are large, and they are. They look like they're pretty like flabby and fatty and such.
Yeah.
And
Right, yeah.
that's all muscle.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Okay.
It's all muscle on me too, just so you know. Just for me wondering.
Just so we know. Yeah.
Yep.
And
It's not that burger I had.
like males can get up to almost 10,000 pounds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is outrageous.
Oh.
Yeah, they can get up to 10,000 pounds. They average at least to 3,000 pounds is like about minimum for an adult.
It makes me wonder,
mind-boggling.
do they spend that much time in the water just to take the weight off their knees?
I would personally.
Right.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit about some of their adaptations for being in the water, and then kind
Please
of
do.
talk about how they don't swim. So Because they do. They spend most of their time in lakes and rivers. They can hold their breath for up to 30 minutes because they do have lungs. Their nostrils and ears and such are located, and eyes are located on the top of their head, so they can just hang out on the top of the water and not worry about needing to breathe, and they can see, and most of their body can stay submerged.
Sort of crocodile style?
Crocodile style. And the reason for that, too, is actually because their skin needs to stay hydrated. It can dry out really easily. So they can't spend more than like 6 hours outside of the water. And part of that, part of their adaptation with their skin, too, is they also don't have sweat glands. Hippos can't sweat.
Right.
And instead they secrete like this red substance that is referred to as blood sweat from their pores.
Oh,
and
that sounds awful.
Yeah, it does.
Like that.
It just coats their skin. It's a mucus membrane type thing, and it keeps the skin moist and actually helps protect the hippos from getting sunburned.
I don't think I'd want to touch that.
No,
I mean, that sounds useful, but I don't want to excrete my own mucus-based red sunscreen.
Maybe not.
Just saying.
Yeah. So when they are under the water, they can close their nostrils, and they do have a nictitating membrane for their eyes, and they even actually have slightly webbed feet, which would be helpful if they could swim.
If they could swim, yeah.
So technically, all hippos do, is they walk along the bottom of riverbeds or lakes or wherever they happen to be, or because they're so dense, they just sink. So they just walk along the bottom. Or what they do is they just push off and do large leaps like Neil Armstrong on the moon. And just traverse the water like that.
What a wonderful image.
One large leap for a hippo.
It's sort of like the hippo ballet and Fantasia, if you have seen that.
Yeah. To give you a little more context too, like they can't, obviously I've touched on how they can't swim, but like their movement, their locomotion in water is about, their top speed is about 5 miles an hour. And but on land, hippos at their highest sprint, just in a little sprint, can go 30 miles an hour.
Oh.
So if being chased by a hippo, you should maybe go in the water.
Yeah, but then you have to deal with
which
maybe
seems
a
like
crocodile.
my last
They're
choice.
still going to be faster than you in the water, though.
Yeah, you're not gonna make it.
Oh, I can
climb a
swim
tree,
at
though. I don't think hippos
40
can climb
miles
trees.
an hour. Yeah.
They cannot climb trees, so
They would
safe
crush
there.
the tree.
Yeah, knock over the tree.
Incidentally, do you know why you never see elephants in trees?
I can think of a few reasons.
A couple.
It's because they're that good at hiding.
Oh my god, that was terrible. Okay.
Moving on.
Moving on. One other adaptation that they have. So because they spend so much of their time in the water, they actually can also sleep in the water. They have a reflex for when they do fall asleep and they're underwater. It causes them to push off the bottom of the water to the surface, take a breath, and then allow them to sink back down without even waking up. So after about 30 minutes, they bob up, take a breath, come back down.
That's amazing. They just like sink to the bottom like a rock.
Yeah.
And be like, huh.
Yeah.
What's a good place to take a nap underwater where I can't breathe?
Yeah. Or, easily get out of here. Yeah.
That's so wacky.
It is very wacky. And I got to give some credit too. I got a lot of info from the San Diego Zoo site on hippos. I also got some really good info from an Atlantic article about how hippos can't swim. And it was very entertaining. So credit where credit is due. And that is what I have for you all today.
Thank you. It's amazing how much I don't know about hippos.
Hippotastic.
So it's the hippo I literally, in my notes, I have it, hippos again.
Nice.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, it'll be Victoria.
And we're back. So last week, you may remember we took a shallow dive into Saturn's ring system, the only kind of dive you can take.
Truly.
Yeah. But I actually wound up choosing that topic after I had started looking into this week's topic. I had started researching Saturn's moons, and I wound up getting sidetracked with the rings.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this week I want to talk about one of Saturn's weirdest moons. There, as I mentioned last week,
Which
83 known
Yeah,
moons.
you got
Yeah.
a few to choose from.
A lot to choose from, exactly. I'm
There are
talking about
options.
one that I did mention last week, Enceladus.
Nice. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
I don't know much about this one, actually.
I had to look up how it was pronounced because I thought it was Enceladus, but it's not. Enceladus is Saturn's sixth largest moon, but it's relatively small. So its diameter is 1/7 that of Earth's moon, so about 500 kilometers across.
Okay.
And its shape is slightly ellipsoid, so it's not perfectly round. Like it's not, I guess, big enough to be perfectly round. As if, moons have to reach
Sure,
a
yeah,
certain
yeah.
mass before they fully round out.
I think the term is roundify.
Roundify, yes, that is
I like
the
roundify.
technical term.
Mm-hmm.
It's located in Saturn's E-ring, which, if you listened to last week's episode, you may remember is a very wide diffuse ring that's actually quite far beyond most of the visible rings of Saturn that we're familiar with. And I'm going to get into this more later. As I alluded to in last week's episode, Enceladus is believed to be the main source of the E-ring. So they're intimately connected. And
No, but that's not why it's called the E-ring for Enceladus, right? It just happens to be the order.
no, it was the fifth one discovered.
Okay,
Got
wow.
it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome coincidence. Okay,
Yeah.
that was bugging me ever since last week. I had to know.
It's been keeping you awake at night.
Oh,
Apparently.
So this moon has a few claims to fame. The first is that it is the most reflective object in the solar system.
what?
Wow.
Yeah, it bounces back 81% of the light that hits it, which is incredibly high. For
Yeah.
you extra nerdy folks out there, it's the Bond albedo of 0.81. So for comparison, the average amount that Earth bounces back is about 30%.
Okay.
Yeah, that's wild.
So
Yeah, that's nuts.
yeah, consequently, it is incredibly cold. Surface temperature at noon is about minus 198 degrees centigrade. That's minus 324 Fahrenheit or 75
Whoa.
Kelvin.
That is
No.
cold.
Yeah, that's cold. And the reason that the surface is so reflective is that it is largely fresh, clean water ice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Interestingly, it has all different kinds of terrain on different parts of its surface. So some of it is cratered and has clearly been impacted. Some of it has deep fissures and kind of almost mountainous regions. And there are some areas that are quite smooth and therefore seemingly relatively new. So a fresh surface indicates there has to be some kind of geological activity going on.
Right. Yeah.
And it really took. So we got some pictures of Enceladus from, I think, one of the Voyager probes that flew by in the 70s or early 80s. But it took the space probe Cassini in 2017 to figure out that there was something really unprecedented going on near Enceladus's south pole. So Cassini was able to take pictures and samples and realized that there are these massive cryovolcanoes, which are geyser-like jets that are
Yeah.
spewing salt water from the subsurface oceans on Enceladus,
What?
800 miles out into space.
So cool.
That's insane. What?
Yes. Yeah,
It's got a leak.
It's more than a leak. It's yeah.
Oh, it's a very large leak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the water does rain back down onto the moon, and some of it constantly renews the E-ring, which just would not exist without it.
Okay.
That's wild.
Makes sense, though.
Yeah. It's salt water. It also contains some organic molecules, more than would have been expected, which is very intriguing.
Yeah.
Very intriguing, yeah.
You might wonder, though, if the surface of this moon is so cold, how is there liquid water underneath? Well, a few clues.
Yeah.
Along with the water and the organic molecules, the E-ring also contains nanoparticles of silicon, which are of a form that can only happen where liquid water touches silica rock at temperatures above 90 degrees centigrade.
Huh.
Okay.
So there's water, there's rock, and it's got to be at least about
Gotta be
200
warm.
degrees Fahrenheit, a little bit below freezing, or a little below boiling, or it could be hotter.
Yeah.
So this indicates that quite probably there are hydrothermal vents at the bottom of the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And it's also possible that tidal forces from Saturn are what's causing the heating. Because
Sure, yeah, the kind of expanding, contracting kind of stuff, yeah.
Exactly. Tidal forces are really significant on these moons of giant planets. And
I gotta imagine they're crazy.
yeah, there's at least one other moon that has geological activity going on that's related to tidal forces. So you put all of this together, and it means that Enceladus is one of the few spots in the solar system that could plausibly have its own life forms, perhaps growing near these hypothetical hydrothermal vents.
So cool.
Yeah, it's really amazing. Obviously, there's a lot we don't know. As I mentioned last week, scientists are still going through all the data that was collected by the Cassini probe, and they're learning more about Enceladus. And there's actually a potential space mission, I also mentioned last week, which would specifically visit Enceladus and try to explore more about whether there could be life there. But, just researching this topic, I feel like I'm discovering this all over again, but it's just so amazing and mind-bending how different all of the planets and moons out there in the solar system are, and each of them has their own thing going on. And it's really, I find it hard to wrap my head around, like,
We don't
just
know
that there are these
so
different
much.
worlds out there.
Well, I think we are biased being on Earth because we look at our moon and we go, oh, it looks pretty like a big dusty rock, I mean, I think it's amazing and awesome and stuff, but like, there's not this kind of stuff going on. But but you look at some of the other moons, there's some moons that Jupiter has that are so big that if they were floating out freely in space, you just call them a planet.
Yeah, some are bigger than Mercury.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, I think our vision of what can be a moon is kind of jaded by our moon.
Yes.
Yeah. You're saying our moon is boring, Kirk.
Comparatively, yes.
Okay.
But I'll still go. I'm just saying there's perhaps more exciting moons out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually had a tough time choosing which moon to pick because there are so many cool ones with really different weird features going on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, lucky for you, this is not the end of the show. I mean, this is the end of this show. It's not the end of this show.
We can do more moons.
As a there we go. Yes, episode 65 will be coming up just next week.
All right. Well, I might take a little break from space, but we'll see.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, that's all I got for you this week. And we'll have a little break. No, wait. Let me start that again. Kirk started this episode.
Sure did. I'm like, oh, God, do I have another topic really quick? We're talking about rust.
All right. Well, that's all I have for you this week. And we will talk to you all next week.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.
Horrifying.
That's what I got.
Ugh.
Yep, horrible. Just horrible.
Thanks.
There's no nice way to wrap that one up. Although, or to tie a bow on it, as you said.
All right.
All right.